The reason America is able to conduct this regime change more calculatedly and there is no pushback is because it doesn't really disrupt China. Because the two biggest dogs in the world that are very equal in terms of wealth. Of course, China's wealth is a little bit more concentrated among their people, and for their ruling class, whereas America's is more concentrated upwards. But at the end of the day, in terms of power and influence, both are almost identical. But the difference is with Venezuela, with Iran, for example, China buy most of their oil from Iran. But what America's doing in Iran isn't harming that at all. If anything, it's helping China. Because if there's economic instability in Iran, Iran is a worthless, a broken, a brutal, a completely bullied country and has no money. What does that mean? Iran is cheaper. Iran is cheaper for China to mint money and make money on it. Same with Venezuela, for example, right? If it's not full-fledged regime change, if it's only partial, if it's partial for the oil, partial to open it up to all investors, not just America, but to all investors, Chinese investors can mint money on it. Russian investors can mint money on it. Chinese reconstruction, even with Gaza, right? The America-Israel quote unquote genocide in Gaza, that obviously largely benefits those two parties. But that doesn't necessarily harm China either, because it creates another route, another profit route for them, right? Chinese companies are already taking the contracts for reconstruction efforts. So even with the war in Ukraine, so I think it's also nuanced at the end of the day. And the reason things are happening a little bit more smoothly without total sinisterness, total sleaziness, without total carnage and damage is because it's all looking at incentives. And like with the war in Ukraine, the reason it's not ended, it's not because Putin wants to take over the whole of Europe. It's not because America wants to fight Putin to the death. Neither want that. What both parties want is just to maximize profits. And looking at Russia, their whole economy is built on the military. 40% of their budget goes to the military. The military industrial complex and its oligarchs are the reason its economy is running. And then same with America, for example, it's a bunch of defense contractors needing to meet their profit threshold as well and also gain those resources. So yeah, man, it's it's macro peace, but it's macroeconomic exploitation. And I think at the end of the day, if you're wealthy and you have autonomy, you can mint a load of money, especially those who are invested in the stock market. But if you don't have the awareness, if you don't have the connection to what is happening in society, and as King says, if you don't look at the story behind the story, and you don't have the wealth, you are fighting for your survival, which is what most people in the world are doing. The gap between the ruling class and then the relatively rich and then the rest of the world, because the middle class is basically gone, is going to be a neon insurmountable gap to overcome unless the lottery works in your favor. And I really see it as, if you ask me, socialism for the rich, for the ruling class, and rather just mass surveillance for the rest of the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.